Hi, I'm Desiree Dubois, and welcome to Let's Talk Success. Let's Talk Success is a show that we have featuring women who've achieved the seven-figure mark as they share their stories, their challenges, their victories, and their secrets to success. Our mission is to provide more educational, motivational programming for women entrepreneurs and professionals worldwide. So come with me as we introduce you to our first guest, Patty DeDominic.
Desiree.
Hi, Patty. How you doing?
I'm great.
You're doing great? You
Yeah.
look awesome. Look at this.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
It's great to have you here. I'm so excited.
Well, we've got lots to talk about. I can't wait. Good afternoon, Patty, and thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to hear more about you. As I mentioned, Let's Talk Success is how women share their stories, their challenges, their victories, and secrets to success. And you are the president or managing partner of DeDominic and Associates. Tell us about yourself, your story. Start from the beginning.
Oh, that was a long time ago. But I am a California girl. I was born in Glendale, California. Wow. I grew up in a suburb of LA. I'm a horse girl. Oh. Got my first horse when I was 12 years old, and I loved living out in Chino, California, and then grew up in Hacienda Heights. I got married very young. I had my first son when I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I had my next son when I was 20 years old. Today I have three magnificent young men, and all three of them have beautiful ladies that they're with.
It's amazing. So you got married, you had children young, 18. What were you thinking? What did you think your life was going to be like as a result of that? No, because that's huge. Because many times people don't achieve the level of success they have because they go from a different way. So how did you come from that?
Do you remember what you were thinking about when you were 18? Boys. And none of the high school boys were good enough. So the minute I met a guy who was smart and intelligent and 7 years older than me, I thought, this is a man. I like this guy.
So there must be a lot of lessons you learned from that, and especially at that young age, because you saw things that you probably thought, okay, how is this going to affect my life?
You're reminding me about something that my mom said, and my mom said that when the business was at its heyday, they were buying buildings, doing new things, active in the Chamber of Commerce, that my dad was a very popular man. But after he retired, she said, Patty, the phone didn't ring. And all those people that, were so important to him then, she said, very few of them stayed friends with him afterwards. She says, so just remember that. She says, you're building your life, and it's the relationships that matter, not the transactions.
Many people that I know that are really love horses, it's almost like their friend. How did that bond affect you?
Animals are incredible. We even have a chicken. And we have 2 dogs, we have a cat, we have a horse that we're keeping for a friend of mine. Yeah, I love animals. I love kids, I love babies, I love business, and I totally love animals. So.
And you also love being in the space. You're in a beautiful home in Montecito, so it's a lot of open space.
So in '95 we found this house. I had just come back from the United Nations Conference on Women, and I was full of bliss of having accomplished many life dreams, my business, all sorts of wonderful things, and I said, I'm finally going to get my palace in Santa Barbara. I learned early on, having started my business at 28 years old, that I could achieve goals, but I had to be thoughtful about what they were, and plan on what I wanted to do, and then set about systems so that I could accomplish those goals.
You talk about also focus, focusing on what you want, and not and not focusing on what you don't want. You say that very beautifully. You want to share that thought again with us?
I think focus is very underestimated. Most people don't recognize that. If you think about it, if you talk to people nowadays, they say to you, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. And when you have to realize that you accomplish 80% of the things that you accomplish in less than 20% of the time. And I believe that you get what you focus on. Mm-hmm. So if you don't set an intention that you want to focus on something, whether that's starting a business, taking the business up over $10 million, taking the business up over $25 million, selling the business, whatever that might be, then there are too many things that can actually get in the way.
Okay, so let's talk about some of your favorite things.
Over the past 20 years, Jean and I have hosted more than 25 international students, and we love it. For me, my philosophy has been try to be the change, try to be the person you wish you had, try to be the mentor that you wish you had, or emulate the mentors that were great. And so for me, I like to help start things. I like to coach successful people, and I think my legacy is having been very, very active with a number of business organizations and starting the International Women's Festival, using those organizations to empower hundreds of thousands of people to be more successful in whatever aspect of life that they wanted to be involved in. So here's my office.
So this is where all the magic happens.
Well, my home office, I love working from home.
Isn't it wonderful?
It is wonderful here in Santa Barbara.
You've got a beautiful view, you got a beautiful space, and you can do what you want. So you have a lot of accomplishments here. Kind of walk me through this.
Oh, you know, these are some wonderful acknowledgments I've received over the years, and I love to visit them sometime. And every once in a while, you know, if I feel a little down, I can go and look either at my LinkedIn endorsements or my proclamations and certificates and awards.
This is an acknowledgement for all the wonderful things that you've been doing. That's important. You do a lot with young people. That's really, you know, you must have that special place in your heart to give back. Not everybody does that.
You know, thank you. My involvement is not simply with young people, it's with anybody who wants to be a high achiever. So actually, in fact, I see you're sitting here in front of a book that I wrote for seniors or people in the prime of life called Land It.
Okay.
Because my business was headhunting and staffing for many, many years, I was in that business over 25 years, I wanted to write something that would be of value to people who are making the transition to the new economy. So I wrote Land It, Job Hunting Tips for Prime of Lifers.
That's needed, even now.
Yes, yes. And then shortly after that, I got invited to speak to a group of 600 high school seniors, and they said, "Oh, Patty, bring your book." And I said, "Well, it's written for their parents," so I quickly rewrote it in the language of a new college student or a new college grad, so get it. So this one talks about get on social media and be willing to learn new skills. And this one talks about be careful what you put on your social media. I don't need to tell young people to get on social media. I just need to remind them that what goes on there could be reviewed by people who are going to hire them.
And stays on there.
And then here's a book I co-wrote with Maureen Ford, and we did over 100 stories of wonderful, wonderful California women. And this book is a great collection of, in these women's own voices, when a moment in their life when everything changed. So we called it Life Moments for Women. When I was 28 years old, I started my very first company, PDQ Personnel Services. And over the years, we grew it, expanded it. I acquired a couple of other companies. And when I finally sold in 2006, I sold PDQ Careers and CT Engineering. And I sold them to one of the largest staffing companies in California. And then over the next few years, it was an amazing story to watch unfold. The consolidated companies went to over $1.5 billion in sales.
One thing you mentioned too is a really good learning experience because you all invested money, like $50,000 to $100,000, and you could have taken the attitude like, oh my gosh, we lost this money, but instead you turned it around to a learning experience.
Desiree, I don't know anybody who's super successful that didn't have to invest in their success. I think it's really important that anybody thinking about growing a business recognizes they're not going to become successful by saving money. Now, you can be a frugal person, but you become successful, in my opinion, by business by wisely investing all your resources and assets. So when I say that, I do mean money, but I also mean people, relationships, and time. And if you want to know a secret, besides focus, time is my most valuable asset.
So also, we talk about relationships. Out of that process, you developed a relationship with one of the people that were involved, who later introduced you to AT&T, which turned out to be one of your clients and so forth.
Yes,
You want to share that?
That's right. Well, I had a great experience. I had absolutely wonderful clients when I had my company. We grew to over 600 employees. And so our business grew because we served major corporations, major institutions like hospitals. I was preferred provider to Children's Hospital. We were award-winning provider to USC. We also provided teams to Harvard University. And AT&T was a fabulous client of mine for many, many years, and one that was, I know, important to the buyer when we eventually sold. In fact, when you sell a business and you have a transaction like that, you generally have to warranty that your management team is going to come with the new owners, and that your key customers are also not going to leave just because the owner leaves. So luckily that worked out well, and to the best of, it's been 7 years now, but to the best of my knowledge, the company that acquired us is still enjoying the benefit of over 20 years of relationships that I had with government, big corporations, AT&T, automobile clubs, children's hospitals. It's amazing.
At one point, you were one of the largest employers in the state of California. How did you put that?
BDQ Personnel Services, yes, we were in the top 2% of all employers in the state of California.
Okay, there we go, that's it. There's a lot of challenges that come with that. You know, the challenges of, again, either keeping it together, managing those people. You mentioned unemployment insurance, and just a lot of things that come with that. People think, okay, gosh, they've got all these employees, but with that comes a lot.
Growing a business is not for the faint of heart. And being a business owner is not for everybody. Some people are just so much better suited for being an employee than they are to be their own boss. And so I really encourage people to think carefully about that and not risk your entire life savings if being a business owner is not for you. So whether you capitalize your business with $2 million worth of venture capital or $3 from your pocket, and by the way, I've seen successful businesses with both. I started my first business with only $2,000. I think how you use and deploy resources is one of the most important aspects of being a successful business owner.
What about personally, though? I hear a lot of some people that don't have any self-confidence, they're too easily influenced. What do you think about that part? What should they be made of? Let's put it that way.
If you're not passionate about what you're doing, then the work is going to be too hard. I don't want to pigeonhole anybody, because I have seen introverts as very successful entrepreneurs. I know a number of them. You certainly don't have to be an extrovert, and you don't have to be totally sane. You know, there's lots and lots of stories about wildly eccentric entrepreneurs who have turned out to be incredible stories, success stories. So I think you have to have a vision, you have to have a plan, you have to be able to convince other people about the value of your plan. And then you have to be resourceful enough to go out and get added, whether that be working capital, bank loans, credit, friends and family, people to work for you as volunteers, good subcontractors who will work on a discount because they believe in you. All of these things might be part of what a bootstrapping entrepreneur goes through. And then an entrepreneur who gets venture capital, or who has angel investors or family who've given them their life savings or part of their retirement, well, that person should have good systems, tools, utilize automation, and also understand what the unique value that each person brings to the team. I want to really confirm, no business was built on one person alone. I know Walt Disney didn't do Disneyland all by himself. I know Steve Jobs didn't do Apple all by himself, even though these are very charismatic and incredible people. Madam Walker didn't build her business all by herself, and certainly neither did I. It takes a lot of team, and it takes a lot of compromise, and as well as focusing in on what's most important.
The challenges, because sometimes people think that they hear about the success and they think that, oh, it's going to be great, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and all of a sudden I'm going to be very successful, have everything. There's a journey. There's times in between that, and there's challenges that happen. And some people, that's when that knocks them down, you know, some of those challenges. What are some of the things that personally, or one that you can think of, that you face? And kind of just tell us how you made it through that part. One of the hardest parts or hardest times or one of the biggest challenges. And I know, again, in the journey, there's different ones and different... I know.
So resiliency is one of the best skills that an entrepreneur needs, that's for sure. There are challenges literally every day, problems that need to be solved. But I was coming off a really bad recession, and we were wondering. I mean, I had leases and I had employees, and I ended up having to go to a landlord and say I couldn't keep my lease, and I wanted to get out of the lease and had to buy myself out of the lease. That was pretty scary. But really, the most challenging time came when, after the recession and the economy bounced back, in a period of 4 months, we doubled our sales. And then by 6 months, we had tripled our sales. Well, a growing business eats cash. And I didn't know that. I was still a very young entrepreneur. I didn't understand how I would consume my cash resources when the business was growing, but that's exactly what was happening. It was like the Cookie Monster coming in. You know, you need to pay staff, you have other things that you have to purchase in order to complete client purchase orders or requests. And so all of a sudden I found myself not being able to make payroll. And I literally had to go to my home office employees and explain the situation. I was mortified. Desiree, I can't tell you how mortified I was. Really, really hard for me. Remember, I'm the girl who was brought up, the goody two-shoes girl. Good credit was amongst the most important things that you could have. And that was tough, but it really worked out well for me. It surprised me. I wasn't used to asking for help. And I explained the situation to my employees, and actually the next day, one of my employees, who's still a friend today, walked in and brought me a check for $5,000. Here, I talked to my husband about this last night. We want you to make sure that you're okay, and we know we're going to get through this, and we understand it's just temporary. And the other one said, oh, my husband's a banker, or a former banker, and he's going to come in, and we're going to help you do your cash flow forecast. I had never done a cash flow forecast before that.
A lot of people don't even know what a cash flow forecast
So we did a cash flow forecast. I took that forecast down to the banker. The banker knew me. Luckily, our office was in the same building as the bank. And I had had a good account relationship, although no borrowing relationship there, for 3 years. And he said, well, Patty, why didn't you tell me this sooner? You know, it's not very good for you to come on Monday and say I need $25,000 by Friday. And I said, you know, I've been waiting for the economy to turn around for 12 months. At what point from that 12 months did you want me to come and tell you, tomorrow I'm going to be successful, tomorrow I'm going to be successful? So I think it's really important that entrepreneurs do understand that there will be feast and famine. It took me 15 years to get my first million. It took me 15 days to get my second million. Now I serve as a business mentor and a business coach, and I do consulting for small business owners, and this happens to CEOs of billion-dollar corporations as well as entrepreneurs who are running $1 or $2 million a year companies.
That's good to know.
So it does happen, and it's important that you surround yourself with the smartest, most experienced advisors that you can. And that means I believe everybody should have a coach, everybody should have mentors, and you, as your business grows and as your challenges and problems become more complex, the quality of your advice needs to go up. So having a good friend to confide in is great. It's wonderful for your soul. But having a good friend as your business mentor is probably not the best idea. And even having your spouse as your business mentor works for some people, but it's tough sometimes to separate the, you know, male-female dynamics or the mate dynamics. So it's really helpful to have somebody as an advisor who's not dependent upon you for a paycheck, knows a little bit about your business, and wants to help you expand it.
You mentioned also too, which touched me, is that there are going to be times when you feel all alone, or you feel, and I think everyone does this fine line. It's like, am I in business or out of business? Should I stay? Should I go? Should I not? Especially again, if there's other voices you're hearing saying, why don't you go and get a job? But the worst thing someone could say to you, a real job or something like that. What would you recommend someone say or do if that happens and when that happens? Because I think it's almost inevitable that it will happen at one point in life.
There is no successful person that I know that hasn't failed many times. And we just get better and better at not showing those failures. Think about it. Think about your own story. Think about other people. People know that Abe Lincoln, as 16th President of the United States, was hospitalized, I think he also had a bankruptcy. I think he was in a mental hospital for a while. I mean, this man went through hell before he was elected President of the United States. Same thing, Walt Disney had bankruptcies. Steve Jobs got fired by his own company. So no successful person doesn't have failures. I think it's important to frame it and understand that these are all lessons that we have to learn, and now you know what not to do next time. The road to success is very jagged, very bumpy, and anybody who tells you that it's all milk and honey, I don't know, maybe they're on the road to heaven.
One thing that you mentioned that I'm curious about, because many people build their businesses, but you were able to sell your business, and so the person that's willing to make that transition, either they by choice or by chance, what were some of the components in that, and how were you able to do that?
Literally, I was at a crossroads that year. This was the year 2006, and I said, well, I'm going to expand, but it's going to take a couple of $1 million additional investment for me to put into my business to take it up over $100 million, or I'm going to find the right company to partner with. And I did find a company that was on an acquisition trail. They had a very big appetite. They'd made about 7 acquisitions before mine that took them to over $500 million. And they acquired us, and boom, literally in less than 2 years, we were over $1 billion. I remember I had just closed a $1 million deal for the new company that acquired us. That was a 15-minute phone call. And then I got a call from one of their franchisees in the state of Colorado, and they said they were interested in doing a statewide purchasing contract. I spent about 4 hours consulting with the owners of the Colorado office, and a few weeks later, I mean, literally it was 4 hours of my time, maybe 6 hours of my time, they had a $17 million purchase order. So I did realize that with scale comes momentum. You can crash faster, more people's lives can be destroyed if the business fails, but you also can do things that small businesses struggle over. So that's why I really recommend that if you have $1 million business, get people who've run $5 and $10 million businesses as your advisors. If you've got a $10 million business and you want to take it to 50 or 100, go get somebody who's had a larger business like that. It'll really make a big difference.
What do you think is that one special thing that you have, you did, you knew, or you nurtured that really enabled you to do that? Because not everyone is able to achieve their goals.
It's not one special thing. Okay. And it's not being good or great every single day either. It's getting back up after you've fallen down, and also not being so concerned about falling down, rolling up your sleeves and doing the hard work, making the plan. I really want to reinforce that it's not only smart people that make millions of dollars. It's people who decide that they want to. I set a goal when I was in my 20s that I wanted to make $1 million before I was 30. I had my 30th birthday, and guess what? I hadn't done it. So I was a little depressed that day. But successful people also know that sometimes your attitude matters a lot. So I reframed it, and I said, oh, well, if I add up the last 3 years of sales, that was $1 million. So by the time I was 31, I had done $1 million. Then pretty soon we were doing $1 million every quarter. Then we were doing $1 million every month. Then we were doing $1 million every week, and it just grew and grew. I do want to say that it's not about the money. This is a little over cliched, but the journey is important. The people that you surround yourself with, I think that's the most important, and how you use your time. And for me, I do like to make change. I like to help other people be empowered to make changes, and I love Well, it's the theme of the 2015 International Women's Festival in China. Be the change, become the fusion to really make things happen.
So what are some of the biggest victories and, after all of your success?
Oh, I think a great milestone in my life was when I moved from LA. We bought our dream home here in Santa Barbara. We did that in the mid-90s. That was fantastic. Another victory was the successful sale of my business in 2006. And then after that, I've actually helped over 40 people write their own books, which I sort of stumbled into. That was amazing. And I have done 5 books myself, which is a miracle because I don't consider myself a writer. But I had a lot of good help and people who knew how to do it, and I had a fabulous publisher, so that's just been great.
Yeah, what was that first time you think, "Hey, I've made it," or "I've reached"?
Oh.
I know.
Well, when I talked my dad into allowing me to have a kitten, that was a major victory. He said no. I said, "Dad, you said I could have anything I want as long as I worked hard enough for it. What do I need to do?" And that was my snowball. That's a family legend, that story. And same thing with my horse, starting my first company at 28, making acquisitions, buying Ames Healthcare Staffing and becoming a leading healthcare staffing organization in Southern California, and then expanding. By the time I sold PDQ and CT Engineering, we were in 33 states.
Was your vision ever that large?
Well, yes, it was, but it certainly wasn't when I started the company, and it wasn't that big in the first 5 years. My vision was to get to $1 million, and then it was to get to $2 million, and then it was, what would it be like if we could hit $4 million this year? So that's, really literally 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 100 million. All of these were all goals that we reset our goals. It's like resetting your GPS.
So we talked a little bit about your business victories. Mm-hmm. What about your personal victories? I mean, the fact that you have 3 beautiful sons and grandchildren, and just anything in that area that was really something that you just wanted and you aspired for and you were able to achieve it?
Well, I'm really proud of my 3 sons and our grandchildren. I'm proud of the loving relationship that I have with my husband. We've been together for over 30 years.
Let's go and talk about some of your secrets to success. So, your secrets to success, if you were to share with the world.
Success for every person is a little bit different.
True.
And it depends on their definition.
Okay.
And so if what you want to do is build a multi-million-dollar business, then it takes goal setting and it takes a network. It takes resiliency, it takes focusing on the goal, and a team.
Okay, and I agree with you, and you say that it depends on your definition of success, because there's a lot of, everyone I feel is successful in some way, shape, or form in their lives. It could be a mother raising successful children. It could be, a community leader. They're all different definitions. I want our listeners to know that they define what their success is.
Stay-at-home mom, I think, is a success.
The biggest success.
If you've given the most difficult job at all, or stay-at-home parent, or parenting, that is an amazing gift that you've been given. And so I really want to state that success is different for each person, and it really depends upon you. I do want to say, though, that I think success means being able to make your own choices, and then to be able to have some options. And the more options you can generate for yourself or for your family, I think the more satisfying success is. This is what success enabled me to do, to be able to donate money and help raise money for the Jane Goodall Institute, which works for animals, and she was named the Goodwill Ambassador of Peace, and so that was really, really special time in my life, and thank goodness that she's still able to do the work that she does now at 80 years old. Now, this is a fun piece. This was a gift from one of the members of my YPO, Young Presidents Organization Forum. But these are some of my friends. This is a lady who took a company public. Here I am. Here's the lady who invented UV protection in sunglasses, and she built a multi-million-dollar business and sold it. Here's the lady who owns Supercuts in Texas, and here's the lady who's the founder of a company called Gamekeeper that eventually got sold to Wizards of the West and Hasbro. So really fun memories, great people.
Fascinating people. So Patty, what empowering thought would you like to leave our listeners with today?
Oh boy. life is hard, and the road to being a successful entrepreneur is definitely not all rosy. So it's not a matter of doing everything right all the time. It's a matter of building your resiliency and changing things for the good. So that's been my philosophy. Don't just do it, but whatever it is that you do, leave the world a better place, whether it be a project, a relationship, a friendship. Surround yourself with the very best people that you possibly can, and be the change and make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and your sharing. And I want to thank you for joining us today. And let's continue talking success.